Your brain isn't broken. The strategies you're using to fix it are. There's an ancient framework that doesn't fight mental chaos, it weaponizes it. Generations survived without therapy apps or life coaches by understanding one thing. Your mind isn't the enemy. Your approach is. Here's what they knew. What if everything you know about mental control is backwards? Here's something wild. Every time you try to force your mind into submission, you're actually making it stronger. Not in a good way. Think about it when someone tells you not to look at something. What's the first thing you do? You look. Your brain doesn't do, don't. It only understands, do. This isn't some mystical concept. It's neuroscience. When you actively try to suppress a thought, your brain creates what researchers call an ironic process. You're literally programming your mind to do the opposite of what you want. It's like telling yourself not to think about pizza right now. Too late. You're thinking about pizza. The ancient framework understood this thousands of years ago. No brain scans, no research papers, just raw observation of human nature. They figured out something crucial. Resistance creates persistence. The harder you push against a thought, the deeper it roots itself in your consciousness. It's not a bug, it's a feature. So what did they do instead? They stopped playing the control game entirely. They recognized that the mind is like water, it flows naturally when you stop trying to contain it. Try holding water in your fists. It slips through. Cup your hands gently, it stays. Same principle, different application. Research from Stanford University revealed that psychological flexibility, the ability to be present with uncomfortable thoughts without fighting them, predicts mental health outcomes better than almost any other factor. Translation: people who stop battling their minds actually win. The ones who keep fighting, they burn out. Here's where it gets interesting. The ancient framework didn't just help people survive, it helped them thrive. Because when you're not wasting energy on internal warfare, that energy goes somewhere else, somewhere productive, somewhere that actually moves your life forward. The mental real estate you're using for resistance, that's premium property being wasted. Have you noticed that the thoughts you fight the hardest are the ones that stick around the longest? Why? Ancient minds were stronger without modern mental health tools. Let's get real for a second. Your ancestors didn't have meditation apps. They didn't have cognitive behavioral therapy or EMDR or any acronym-based solution. They had dirt, survival, and a framework that actually worked. And somehow, they handled stress that would break most people today. The difference? They understood something we've forgotten. Your mind is designed to process, not to be controlled. It's a system that needs input, processing, and output. When you interrupt that cycle with forced suppression, you create a backup. Like a clogged drain, everything backs up, pressure builds, and eventually something breaks. The ancient framework operates on leverage, not force. Imagine trying to move a boulder. You can push directly against it until your muscles give out, or you can use a lever and move it with minimal effort. Same outcome, completely different energy expenditure. That's what this system does with your thoughts. First component, detached awareness. You watch your thoughts like you're watching a movie. Not your movie, just a movie. This creates psychological distance. Suddenly, that anxious thought isn't, "I'm anxious." It's, "there's an anxious thought happening." Small shift, massive difference. You've gone from being trapped in the experience to observing it. Second component, strategic engagement. Once you've got that distance, you choose where to place your attention, not by forcing it away from the bad thought, but by giving your mind something more compelling. Your brain is like a bored teenager. Give it something interesting to do, and it stops causing problems. Third component, repetition without expectation. This is where most people fail. They try the framework once, don't see instant results, and quit. But neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself, takes time. Every repetition creates a tiny pathway. Do it enough times, and that pathway becomes a highway. That's when transformation stops being effort and starts being automatic. And here's the part that changes everything. The ancient framework doesn't promise happiness. It promises capability, the ability to function regardless of what your mind is doing. That's infinitely more valuable than temporary good feelings. What would change in your life if your mental state didn't determine your actions anymore? Drop a comment sharing one thought pattern. You're ready to stop fighting. Hit that like button if this perspective shifted something for you. And subscribe because we're just getting started. What happens when you stop treating your mind like a problem to solve? You've been lied to. They told you that mental health means having a quiet, peaceful mind. That anxiety is abnormal. That negative thoughts mean something's wrong with you. Complete fiction. Your mind is supposed to generate thousands of thoughts daily, most of them useless, some of them dark. That's not dysfunction. That's biology. The ancient framework treats your mind like an ecosystem, not a machine. Ecosystems are messy. They have predators and prey, growth and decay, chaos and order. You don't fix an ecosystem. You work within it. You understand its patterns and adapt accordingly. Try to control every element, and the whole system collapses. Here's a perspective shift that'll hit different. Every negative emotion you're trying to eliminate is actually information. Fear tells you something matters. Anger shows you where your boundaries were crossed. Sadness indicates loss of something valuable. These aren't bugs in your programming. They're the operating system functioning correctly. When you apply the ancient framework, something counterintuitive happens. You stop trying to change how you feel, and paradoxically, how you feel changes. Not because you manipulated it, but because you stopped feeding the resistance cycle. It's like quicksand. The moment you stop struggling, you stop sinking. Recent neuroscience research demonstrates that acceptance-based approaches decrease activity in the default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for rumination and self-focused thinking. In plain English, when you stop fighting your internal experience, your brain literally quiets down, not through force, but through natural regulation. But here's what most people miss. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means acknowledging reality as it is right now, then choosing your next move from that place of clarity. You can accept that you're anxious and still take action. You can acknowledge fear and still move forward. The emotion doesn't have to change for your behavior to change. This is where evolution happens, not in the absence of difficulty, but in your relationship with it. When you stop wasting energy trying to eliminate discomfort and start using that energy to build what matters, everything shifts. Your mind stops being a battlefield and becomes a tool. What would you do differently today if you stopped waiting for your mind to cooperate first? Leave a comment with one word describing what you're feeling right now. Smash that like button if this makes sense, and subscribe to keep this momentum going. How to implement this ancient system before you finish watching this. Enough theory. Let's make this practical, because knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment. And you didn't come here to be entertained. You came here to change something. Step 1. Identify your most frequent mental loop. That thought that shows up uninvited, overstays its welcome, and drains your energy. Maybe it's worry about money, dread about past choices, or fear of what others think. Pick one. Don't try to fix it. Just notice it. Oh, that's the money worry thought. It's here again. No drama, no judgment, just observation. Step 2. Redirect deliberately. Once you've acknowledged the thought, immediately shift to a specific action. Doesn't need to be profound. Could be making your bed, sending a text, doing 10 push-ups. The key is specificity and immediacy. You're training your brain that thoughts don't require prolonged engagement. Acknowledge, then move. This breaks the rumination cycle at its root. Step 3. Repeat until it becomes automatic. This is where commitment matters. The ancient framework works because it's practiced consistently, not perfectly. You'll forget sometimes. You'll get sucked back into mental warfare. That's expected. What matters is returning to the practice. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathway. Each return builds the skill. And here's the reality nobody wants to hear. This takes longer than a week, probably longer than a month. The ancient framework survived because the people who used it understood that real change operates on geological time, not internet time. They committed to the practice for years, even decades. That's why it worked. That's why their mental strength puts ours to shame. You're at a decision point right now. Continue doing what you've been doing, collecting information, trying new hacks, hoping for magic, and get what you've been getting. Or start implementing this framework today. Stay consistent, and fundamentally change your relationship with your own mind. The path forward has always been clear. Most people just aren't willing to walk it. What's the first thought you're going to observe rather than fight when this video ends? What you do in the next 5 minutes determines everything. Drop a comment, hit that like button, subscribe for more frameworks that actually work, and share this with someone who needs to stop fighting themselves. Let's build different together.